What if chess didn't have a board and didn't need to memorize every single opening move ever invented? Well, with Hive Pocket, we have that answer. Using various different insect tiles, we're placing on the board to try and trap our opponent's queen. Speaking of opponent, well, no, it's not really an enemy thing today, but I've got a special guest here, Bill Park, who is the General Manager of RMITV. Thank you, Bill, for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
I'll kick us off, placing a piece, but can you tell me a little bit about RMITV and your role?
Oh God, now I've got to concentrate on the game, play the pieces.
It's a distraction.
We can do this. We can do this. I'm gonna mirror you. Yeah, so RMITV is the organisation that helps produce this show as well as many others. My role specifically is I'm the general manager. So I do most of the boring stuff. Really, it's a lot of governance and finance and sort of strategic planning and making sure that everything's running smoothly. I'm the person behind the scenes who I'll occasionally come to sets and say hi to people, but I'm sort of usually the one that's way behind the scene. RMITV it's a volunteer organisation, so you if you're either a student at RMIT or you can be a member of the public as well. You can basically just sign up as a member, and we put out crew calls and different opportunities and stuff like that for people to come volunteer and work on TV shows, basically. And RMIT's TV studios here, as well as we do things out on location sometimes as well. But yeah, well, it's basically for students and young adults and anybody looking for maybe a career change or something like that who wants to get some experience in making television or short films. Or we did animation at one point, and then we lost money, so we have to find a way to afford to do it again. But yeah, animation as well. We do like film reviews, that people can get experience doing film reviews and stuff like that. And we're on like the review list for like all the major Hollywood studios, and so we actually get to premieres. So it's not just like Letterboxd where you just write a review or whatever. It's like we can actually get you into the premieres and all that. Yeah, so it's just experience basically, or it's for some people it's a social thing. There's a lot of people who've volunteered here and gone on to. Oh hang on, I got to play the Queen. There's a lot of people who've volunteered here and gone on to do larger things and all that. The names we always throw out there, and Channel 31 throws out there as well, as your Hamish and Andy's, your Rose McManus's, and then there's other people. I volunteered with someone a few years ago who went over and did an internship for Marvel in LA, which she just announced that to us one day. I'm going to LA. It's like, okay. So yeah, people go in all different directions and stuff like that. Yeah, that's. I'm trying to think of what move to do, and I'm gonna put down an ant. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, so I guess that obviously there's a lot of opportunities to learn, try new roles, to then whether or not that's used as a stepping stone to professional work or other things. But also there's a lot of shows here that are passion projects that they still go out on Channel 31. Like this show is I hate to be the news. I'm not making money off this show.
I would be surprised if there was anybody that was, to be honest.
But it is a chance to be creative, to talk to interesting people and play games and shout out the love of board games. And so that sort of 31 and also RMIT gives the opportunity to do that.
Yep.
So in your time as being general manager, what have you seen sort of change, or what have you tried to work on?
Well, I started during COVID, so there was a lot of, how we even made shows back then was totally different. There were a few periods of time where we were doing remote shows as well, where it was just a bunch of interviews over Zoom, and there were ways to be creative with that, but obviously it's much more fun being in person and being inside the studio. So yeah, when I started, it was, we only made, I think it was about 8 or 9 episodes of television across a 12-month period in these studios, because it was just lockdown, back and forth. And there was all the protocols and stuff like that in terms of getting into the university, which were all fair enough, but it was just meant that there was a very different organisation when I started to where it is now. I think we only had about 450 members in 2021, and we now have, I think it's about 710. So we've had a massive increase. We've had about, I think it's about 500 people in total have actually joined in the last 3 years, which is absurd and you can't really get your mind around it, especially because we're a small organisation, but when you've got that many people, so I think the biggest change is just the amount of people that want to be involved, and it means that we've got problems now where there's capacity and stuff like that in terms of the number of opportunities available on roles, and so we're going for lots of funding and stuff like that, grant applications and all that kind of thing to be able to make more shows and let more people be able to make stuff and make their own ideas if it's a passion project or whatever. So that's probably the biggest change, is the number of people that have been wanting to get involved.
Because there's shows like, as an example, where RMITV members, but like the crew is driven by RMITV members, and then there's also shows where not only the crew but also the entire production, the development and design, and the direction and producing is all RMITV members who might be students as well.
Yep.
So there's various different levels of shows of an opportunity there. So obviously we're seeing that growth. We're seeing a lot more people wanting to volunteer, wanting to be involved. Where would you hope to sort of start going next?
There's a few different places, because the organisation has so many different avenues that it does things in that, whatever the organisation looks like in 5 years' time will be a rich tapestry of a few different things that are different from now. But I think the main thing is we want to be able to make more shows. And whether or not that's in the studios or outside of the studios, depending on capacity and stuff like that. But we want to be able to just make more shows. And we want to be able to let more people be able to pitch their ideas. Because at the moment, we take on pitching, so if you're interested in making a show, you can come to us and pitch us an idea. Like, we're very open with that. And more often than not, if it's within scope of something that we can do and you've got funding sorted or we can afford to make it, then we'll make it. But that's obviously limited. We want to be able to open that up because, as I said, there's so many more people that want to make shows, and we want to be able to let as many people as possible make their own idea. Because at the moment, it's mostly people just crewing on other people's ideas. But if you can make your own idea, you can learn so much more from it as well. So if we can just make more productions, that would be the main thing, honestly. Everything else is, everything else is industry wide. So we want community television to be more of a stable entity. Now that the current government's promised a 5-year extension, that's yet to be legislated, but we're hoping that actually happens soon. And then, the community television is actually now involved in talking to the government in terms of what the broadcast spectrum looks like in 5, 10, 20 years' time, whereas previously that wasn't the case. And so that's another thing that we want to see, because while we don't broadcast shows ourselves, we make shows and put them on Channel 31. We want to see the station thrive. We want to see Adelaide, C44 thrive. We want to see a national station as well, CTV Australia, which is in the works at the moment. We want to see that thrive. And so that means that there's more opportunities for us to put out productions. And it means that there's more opportunities for people, not just in Victoria or South Australia. So that's what we want to see. We want to see it to become more of an entry point for people around the country. All right, cool. There we go.
Bill, thank you for coming in and playing Hive. I played this game a number of times, so...
This is my first time.
Yes.
Yep.
It's one of those games where, like, when I first played, I'm like, oh, this is good, and I played it again, I'm like, oh, this is really good, and every time I'm like, the piece that I like most changes.
Yeah.
But so beyond playing the game, thank you for coming down and more talking about RMITV. It's about 31 and the great opportunities that people can have that I have, that we have, right here. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me.